Washington is not a place to live in. The rents are high, the food is bad, the dust is disgusting, and the morals are deplorable. Go west, young man, go west and grow up with the country.
Go west, young man. This simple phrase held the hopes and dreams of one people, the continued enslavement of another people, and the destruction of countless other groups of people. Over the next few lessons, we are going to examine westward expansion from each of these perspectives. Today, we're going to examine it from an American settler's perspective and learn about the policies that help shape westward expansion. The lesson's essential question is, why did the United States expand during the 19th century? And guiding questions, how did manifest destiny shape 19th century cultural attitudes in the United States? What U.S. foreign policies helped the United States expand westward? And how was U.S. domestic policy used to develop Western territory? Remember in Unit 1, we learned that prior to European colonization, North America was not emptied of civilization, but filled with numerous different cultures. Before the Revolutionary War, European nations justified settling in land inhabited by indigenous nations through the doctrine of discovery. According to it, Europeans could lay claim to non-Christian land and establish political and economic sovereignty over a region and its many inhabitants. After independence, the U.S. had to develop a new rationale for expansion. After the Revolutionary War, Americans developed a new reason for westward expansion, known as manifest destiny. Manifest destiny was a set of cultural attitudes that promoted and justified westward expansion. Cultural attitudes are social values and beliefs that help individuals understand their society and inform the decisions that they make. Manifest Destiny supporters took to the press to promote and justify aggressive and immediate westward expansion. In many United States publications, people saw paintings promoting Manifest Destiny, such as American Progress. Let's take a minute to look at different cultural attitudes represented in the painting. Fill out the lesson PDF and use section 1 of the guided viewing to break down the painting American Progress. First, there are trains, ships, and wagons. These are all forms of transportation representing the United States westward expansion. Second, there are farmers, miners, and fur trappers that represent the introduction of agriculture and industry to Western territories. Third, bison, Native Americans, and bears are running away, representing environmental transformation and indigenous displacement. And finally, there's Lady Liberty moving forward, representing democracy. The painting expressed cultural attitudes held by many Americans at the time. According to these cultural attitudes, westward expansion was really the spread of agriculture, industry, and democracy. As the name suggests, many people saw this as American progress. Let's look at how this cultural attitude continued to shape American history. This political cartoon is titled World War I, Lady Liberty, Ringing in Freedom Across the World. How does it represent the same cultural attitudes expressed by Manifest Destiny? First, the woman and the bell atop the world represents democracy. What's the bell doing? That's right, ringing across the world. The same ideas that justified U.S. expansion across the continent are being used to justify U.S. involvement overseas. The cultural attitudes that saw westward expansion as the U.S.'s destiny are applied to the entire world. Although individuals such as journalists and artists were key factors in spreading these cultural attitudes to more Americans, ultimately government policies and private industry were required to make expansion possible. In the next section, we'll look at the ways in which the United States government acquired Western territory. But before we get into that, let's answer the guiding question. How did Manifest Destiny shape 19th century cultural attitudes in the United States? Manifest Destiny also shaped American foreign policy. Foreign policy refers to government strategies aimed at dealing with other nations and can involve economic, political, and military actions. Most immediately, it meant the primary focus was on acquiring Western territories to eventually control the continent. In this section, we're going to use this timeline and series of maps to explore three major examples of foreign policy that helped the United States to expand across the continent. The first big foreign policy was the Treaty of Paris of 1783. It was a treaty between the United States, France, Spain, and England, which ended the Revolutionary War. The Treaty of Paris of 1783 secured for the United States the territories in between the Mississippi River and the Appalachian Mountains. This area became known as the Trans-Appalachian Territory. The second major foreign policy moment was the Louisiana Purchase. In 1803, the Jefferson administration purchased the Louisiana Territory from France. The Louisiana Purchase brought almost 1 million square miles and 15 future states into the nation, as well as numerous Native American civilizations that already controlled areas within the territory. And the third big foreign policy was the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo of 1848 ended the Mexican-American War. After annexing Texas, a former Mexican state, the United States attempted to purchase the Southwest from Mexico. And when they refused, war broke out. The United States won the war, bringing more Western territory into the nation. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo gave America the present-day states of California, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, and Nevada, as well as parts of Colorado. By the 1850s, the United States had used different foreign policies to expand across the continent, such as war and purchases. Each foreign policy used to expand westward was accompanied by a domestic policy meant to secure and develop new territories. We'll explore some of the most important domestic policies in the next section, but first, it's time for the next guiding question. What U.S. foreign policies helped the United States expand westward? Immediately after the Revolutionary War, American domestic policy was designed to secure, develop, and integrate Western territories into the nation. Domestic policy refers to government actions within a nation's borders and typically does not involve other nations. In this section, we will use some maps to illustrate how domestic policy encouraged Western settlements and connected Western economies to the East Coast. The first set of major domestic policies were the Northwest and Southwest Ordinances. The Northwest and Southwest Ordinances organized the Trans-Appalachian Territory, encouraging settlement into the areas by determining how new territories became states. These policies determined how future territories would enter the United States by detailing the number of settlers needed to apply for statehood, requirements for a republican government, and plans for economic development. The second major domestic policy was the Lewis and Clark Expedition. In 1804, Captain Meriwether Lewis and Second Lieutenant William Clark led the Corps of Discovery on an expedition through the Louisiana Territory. The Lewis and Clark Expedition helped to connect the Louisiana Territory to the settled areas of the United States by mapping the area for future settlements, determining the area's economic potential, and establishing transportation routes. It also established trade relations with different Native American civilizations. By the mid-century, policy shifted. The focus was on railroads rather than waterways. So the third major set of domestic policies were the Pacific Railway Act and the Homestead Act. The American government passed the Pacific Railway Act of 1862, which gave railroad companies land and subsidies used to build railroads and create western towns that led to economic development in western territories. To settle west, the federal government passed the Homestead Act, which gave 160 acres of land to settlers who agreed to farm western land. This resulted in massive immigration west, spreading American values and institutions to the interior of the continent and connecting Western agriculture to Eastern industries. By the end of the century, the West was fully incorporated into the national economy and society. Time for the final guiding question. How was U.S. domestic policy used to develop Western territories? Westward expansion was more than territorial expansion. It was also the spread of American values and institutions. Manifest destiny was a set of cultural beliefs held by some Americans that it was their destiny to spread their values and institutions across the continent. The government facilitated expansion through a number of foreign and domestic policies that acquired and integrated the West into the nation. But these were territories inhabited by numerous nations, and expansion itself threatened to tear the nation apart. In the next 2 lessons, we will explore some of the conflicts expansion helped cause. But until next time, keep making history.
Hey, hey.